All right, AP Human Geography classes. Here's our third video on industry. Why are site factors important? Let's talk about site. All right, so what is site? What we talked about in class, this is the unique characteristics of land, labor, and capital of a given area. And often physical characteristics are associated with site as well. Now, industry considers the following factors when placing a manufacturing plant. The workers that are needed to fill these centers, hence labor, the availability and price of land, like property taxes, hence land, and the ability to borrow money and achieve capital gains, henceforth capital. And the reason why they borrow money is because of, let's say, new machinery, or they want to expand their manufacturing plant. All right, let's talk about the first factor, labor, which is the most important site factor. Now, the goal is to minimize the cost of labor to achieve higher capital gains. Obviously, companies want to make more of a profit. So just to give you a little window here of why many manufacturing jobs are located elsewhere, in MDCs, such as the United States, the average worker gets paid $20 an hour versus LDCs, where the average worker gets paid an average of $5 an hour, right? A huge difference there. Now, the following countries have the largest industry workers. So take a look here. China, which has 250 million in industry. India has 200 million in industry. And all MDCs combined accumulate for 200 million in industry. All right, let's talk about labor-intensive versus capital-intensive industries. Well, what is a labor-intensive industry? Labor-intensive industry is when wages constitute a high percentage of expenses. And that's many of these industries. Hence why many companies expand overseas, going from an MDC to an LDC. And one great example of this is textile industry, right? We did that little activity class where where's your t-shirt from? And barely anybody's t-shirt was from the United States. It's because it's expensive to produce textiles within MDCs. On the other spectrum, we have capital-intensive industries, and this is when labor constitutes a low percentage of expenses, but investments in machinery are much higher. A great example of this is car manufacturing plants. Although, yes, do people work in there and maybe get paid higher wages? Absolutely, but the majority of expenses is allocated to capital investments such as machineries. All right, let's talk about land now, our second site factor. Now, factories originally were found in cities, and this is due to the following three reasons: proximity to market, ease of transportation, and there was a wide range of labor or population there. Now, the biggest thing that cities lacked was obviously the available land. So now contemporary cities are located more in suburban rural areas because there's more land, as well as the following factors. There's increased technology for better transportation modes, right? We have better trucks, we have better planes, so on and so forth. Land is cheaper again than in cities. And almost all factories are located near some sort of highway junction. For example, where 287 meets 80, right near Whippany. All right, environmental factors of the land. Now, again, I talked about how industry is impacted by physical characteristics. Well, these are just some of the factors that go into where should one place one's industry. One perhaps could be climate, where this industry might prefer mild climates year-round. Another one is topography, which the ideal would be a flat land, let's say near a river or forest, for resources and transportation. Recreational activities, let's say for outdoor activities with workers, cultural facilities if they're near a sports team, depending on your industry, and the cost of living if property tax for the business workers are lower than, let's say, elsewhere. All right, let's talk about our last site factor, which is capital. This is really the ability to borrow money to establish new factories or expand existing ones or buy machinery. Now, the goal of this is to make more money, obviously. And so MDCs have way more opportunities to acquire capital than LDCs for lots of different reasons, right? So this is why so many companies may expand overseas using this money in MDCs. But there also is this little carrot and stick analogy where many banks may actually give incentives, or many states may actually give incentives for companies to stay within the United States and provide jobs for that specific state. Okay, guys, quick wrap up on site factors. We'll talk much more about this in class. See you then.